ever found yourself with this incredible burning desire? Maybe it's to launch that passion project you've been dreaming about, or write that book you always talk about, or maybe completely transform your career path. You feel the motivation, right? You visualize the success. You might even start brainstorming, and then it just fizzles out. That grand ambition, definite desire for something more, something different, it just slowly fades into the background noise of daily life. It's a common experience, isn't it? Almost universally frustrating. We all have these powerful visions, but bridging the gap between that abstract wish and concrete reality, it often feels like trying to cross this huge chasm with no visible path. Well, today we're taking a deep to precisely that challenge. We're exploring organized planning, which is the pivotal chapter 6 from Napoleon Hill's absolute classic, Think and Grow Rich. Now, if you've been following along with us, we've talked about the power of a definite desire, that unwavering clarity on what you want, and also the importance of specialized knowledge. This chapter, for so many people, is where those foundational ideas move from just being concepts to being actionable. It's where the rubber truly meets the road, as they say. So, okay, let's unpack this. How do we go from just wishing to truly doing, from dreaming to achieving, and actually building that bridge across the chasm?
Yeah, what's fascinating about chapter 6, and really what makes it such a critical turning point in Hill's philosophy, is that it's where ambition fundamentally shifts. It moves from the realm of pure thought, into the world of tangible execution. Think about it for a second. Those previous concepts like definite desire, that burning specific goal you commit to, or specialized knowledge, the skills and info you need, and the powerful role of imagination in visualizing success, those are foundational, absolutely critical, no doubt. But they're largely internal. They live inside your head. This chapter 6, is where those powerful internal forces begin their transformation into something external, something you can actually, touch, measure, and build upon. It's all about bridging that often elusive gap between what you want and how you're actually going to get it. Because, let's be honest, without a structured, actionable plan, those dreams, no matter how vivid or strong they feel, they just remain wishes. Beautiful wishes maybe, but ultimately unrealized aspirations. And that's really the core message we're going to dig into today.
How to turn a wish into a blueprint, and then ultimately into a reality.
Exactly. And Hill is so incredibly clear about this whole transformative process. He states, and I really love this imagery he uses, "You have learned that everything man creates or acquires begins in the form of desire." Quote, "That desire is taken on the first lap of its journey from the abstract to the concrete into the workshop of the imagination, where plans for its transition are created and organized." Wow. When I first read that, it really stuck with me. It's not just about jotting down a quick to-do list, is it? It's about taking that raw, powerful desire that's been brewing inside you and all the specialized knowledge you've either got or know you need to get, and actually forging them into a clear step-by-step blueprint. It really is a workshop, isn't it? A place where these nebulous ideas get hammered into concrete shape. But what's fascinating, and maybe a bit tricky, is how often we think we're planning, but we're actually just, overthinking, which can be a really subtle form of procrastination, something Hill clearly observed even back then.
You've hit on such a critical insight there. That distinction is key. Hill makes it abundantly clear that no amount of intense desire or, unwavering faith or even the most vivid imagination, none of that will create wealth or success on its own, not without actionable planning. And understanding the why behind this necessity is crucial. Desire provides the what is it you truly want to achieve with that burning conviction. Imagination sculpts how it lets you visualize possibilities, see the solution, maybe conceive of the ideal path, often bringing in creative angles. But organized planning, that provides the detailed roadmap and the specific sequential steps required to actually walk that path. It's the difference between knowing you want to get to some distant, incredible city, right? And having a beautiful mental picture of that city, versus actually pulling out a detailed map, identifying the precise routes, the specific turns, figuring out where you need to stop for fuel and rest, and then getting in the car and actually driving. Modern behavioral science now calls this stuff analysis paralysis, or the planning fallacy. Hill intuitively understood that the simple act of just getting something down on paper, however imperfect it might seem, it overrides the brain's natural tendency to seek perfection and, therefore avoid starting at all. Which raises a really important question for all of us, I think. How often do we stop at the desire phase? Or maybe we get stuck in the imagination phase without ever truly building out that actionable roadmap. A lack of this transition, this bridge, is very often the single missing link for so many people who genuinely aspire to great things but find themselves kind of stuck in a cycle of wishing rather than doing. It's all about moving from that internal vision to an external manifestation.
It's so true, isn't it? It really is the difference between being a visionary and actually being a doer, someone who makes things happen. And what's truly fantastic about Hill's approach here is that he doesn't just say, go plan, good luck. He gives us a direct 4-step blueprint. It's almost like a recipe, really, for turning any definite desire into a structured plan for action. These aren't just abstract theories floating around. These are practical, sometimes even counterintuitive steps that break down what feels like an overwhelming ambition into manageable, logical parts. And this systematic approach, this is where it gets really interesting.
Yes, absolutely. These steps represent a deeply systematic approach. It's about tackling problem solving and goal achievement head on. It's really about deconstructing a seemingly overwhelming ambition into manageable, logical components. And then crucially, marshaling the resources, both internal, like your own conviction and persistence, and external, like collaborators, to tackle them effectively. It's essentially a method for systematically engineering your path forward.
Okay, so let's dive into that first crucial step, because honestly, it's one of the most freeing pieces of advice in the whole book for me. Step 1. Form a definite plan. Simple enough, right? But here's the kicker, the part that truly resonates and kind of challenges our natural tendencies. Hill says, the plan may be weak and subject to change as you go, but any plan is better than no plan. That's incredibly powerful. I mean, think about how often we get stuck. It cuts right through that common trap of waiting for the perfect plan. We've all been there, haven't we? Agonizing over every little detail, paralyzed by the fear that our first attempt won't be flawless. It's almost like waiting for the absolute perfect weather conditions to start gardening. You just end up with a very well-researched but entirely plant-free yard. And what happens then? Nothing. Total inaction. So what does this really mean for you, the listener? Maybe you're like our hypothetical listener, Sarah, trying to launch that sustainable fashion brand she's been dreaming about, but she's been stuck on her business plan for months. It means just start. Get something down. A weak plan, a shaky plan, a plan that you know you'll revise 1,000 times. It's still infinitely better than staring at a blank page and achieving absolutely nothing. It gets the ball rolling.
Exactly. And this principle, it directly addresses that pervasive psychological barrier of perfectionism. Perfectionism is truly a silent killer of dreams, isn't it? The pursuit of an ideal initial plan often leads straight to procrastination and complete stagnation. So Hill's advice to start with even a weak plan is, well, it's brilliant because it immediately creates momentum. And the momentum is so critical both for psychological buy-in, feeling like you're making progress, and for generating real-world feedback. A plan, however flawed it might seem at first, transforms an abstract goal into something concrete enough to interact with. So for Sarah, our example listener, this means actually writing down her initial thoughts on suppliers, marketing ideas, distribution channels, even if they're messy and incomplete. She's not aiming for like a Nobel Prize winning business strategy on day one. That's not the point. She's aiming for a starting point, something tangible. Then you can test it. You can observe its shortcomings and crucially learn from its initial imperfections. This iterative process, this cycle of plan, act, learn, adjust is what fuels true progress. For you, the learner listening right now, this is especially relevant because it breaks down the potentially overwhelming nature of a big goal into a manageable first step. It's all about moving from that analysis paralysis we talked about into active engagement. The value of a weak plan isn't in its perfection, not at all. It's in its existence as a launch pad for action and learning. It's about accepting that revision isn't a sign of failure, it's actually a sign of progress.
Right. Okay, so you've got that initial, perhaps imperfect plan sketched out. You've started. Hill's second step then brings in a really vital external element, one that I think often gets overlooked. Step 2, build a mastermind group. Now, this isn't just about finding cheerleaders, people who just pat you on the back. It's about consciously, deliberately surrounding yourself with people whose experience, whose knowledge, whose diverse perspectives can genuinely support and elevate your goal. Hill emphasizes that a plan's strength is directly linked to the quality of the minds contributing to it. I mean, think about it. No single person has all the answers, right? Or all the necessary specialized knowledge or all the potential solutions to problems you haven't even thought of yet. So for Sarah, again, trying to build her sustainable fashion brand, maybe she knows fabrics and design inside out, great. But perhaps she lacks expertise in, say, e-commerce platforms or maybe complex supply chain logistics or even the legal nitty-gritty of starting a business. So the question for you, the listener, becomes, who are those people in your life or who could you seek out who can elevate your thinking? Who has experience you lack? Or connections you might need? Or even just a totally different way of looking at a problem that could unlock a solution you'd never see on your own. It's about consciously assembling your personal brain trust.
Absolutely. And what's truly fascinating here, the core idea, is that collective intelligence often far surpasses individual insight. It's a powerful concept. The mastermind group, as Hill defines it, is far more than just a passive support system. It's a dynamic synergy of minds, all working, ideally, towards a common goal or supporting your goal. When you bring diverse perspectives, combined knowledge, and varied experiences to bear on a single problem or goal, well, the potential for identifying blind spots you didn't know you had, for generating more robust and creative solutions, and for providing consistent, powerful accountability, it just increases dramatically. For Sarah, her mastermind group might include, say, a veteran e-commerce entrepreneur who scaled businesses before, maybe an expert in ethical sourcing, given her sustainable focus. And perhaps even a friend who is just incredibly detail-oriented and can poke holes, spot logical gaps in her plan before they become major issues. He'll actually suggest a diverse blend of minds is best. Maybe someone with financial acumen, someone else with deep industry-specific knowledge. And crucially, someone who will challenge your assumptions constructively, not just nod and agree all the time. So for you, the listener, this might mean reaching out to a former colleague who tackled a similar challenge, or maybe even joining an online community focused on your specific goal and actively engaging in structured brainstorming sessions. Define clear roles, set expectations for group input. This group provides not just advice, but also that crucial element of challenge and motivation. It pushes you to think more deeply, question your assumptions, and stay committed when your personal resolve might start to waver. It's really about harnessing a pooled resource of specialized knowledge that you might not possess on your own. And that makes your plan much more resilient and adaptable when you inevitably face unforeseen challenges. He's like collaborative genius in action.
Okay, mastermind group assembled, initial plan down. Now here's where most people falter, according to Hill, and he's quite refreshingly brutal about it, actually. The third step is persistence. We all know that even the best, most well-thought-out plans, supported by brilliant people, they often encounter obstacles, setbacks, what feels like outright defeat sometimes. And the common reaction, the almost instinctual reaction for most people, it's to quit at the first sign of real trouble, to declare the whole endeavor a failure and just move on. They interpret a temporary roadblock as a permanent wall. But Hill challenges that directly. He practically shouts it from the rooftops in his writing. He says, and this is a quote you should seriously consider writing down and sticking somewhere visible, "Temporary defeat is not failure. It simply means your plan wasn't sound. Create a new one." Pass. That's such a profound shift in perspective, isn't it? It completely reframes what we typically label as failure into something entirely different, something manageable. It's not an end, it's just feedback, it's data. Imagine Sarah again, midway through developing her brand. She finds out her chosen fabric supplier just hiked prices unexpectedly, maybe dramatically, making her initial financial projections totally irrelevant. Most people would panic, right? Maybe even think, okay, this is impossible, and quit. But Hill's perspective says, no, hold on. That's just information. Your plan for sourcing that specific plan was unsound under these new conditions. Now, go make a new plan.
This concept is absolutely central. It underpins critical thinking and sustained achievement, and it really does differentiate the true achievers from those who just sort of dabble in things. If you synthesize this with Hill's broader philosophy, failure isn't a dead end at all. It's a crucial data point in your journey. That's it. Each so-called failed attempt is in fact an invaluable learning opportunity. It's gold, actually. It provides critical information about what doesn't work, what variables you didn't account for initially, or where your initial assumptions were maybe flawed. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is about building resilience, but resilience forged through analysis, not just brute force stubbornness. It's not simply about trying harder with the same broken approach. It's about understanding why something didn't work, and then intelligently adapting your strategy based on that understanding. Emotionally, this mindset is huge too. It alleviates the crushing weight of perceived failure. It transforms what feels like a demoralizing setback into an analytical challenge. It prompts you to refine and improve rather than just abandon your efforts. So for Sarah, it means, okay, deep breath. Now dive into research for new suppliers. Explore alternative sustainable fabrics. Maybe even adjust her target profit margins or product mix based on this new reality. It's a complete paradigm shift that empowers you, the listener, to embrace struggle not as a sign you should stop, but as a necessary and informative part of the journey toward any significant goal. It's the difference between reacting emotionally and responding strategically.
And that leads us perfectly, really, into the fourth and final step Hill outlines, repetition and adjustment. So this isn't just about persistence in the sense of stubbornly pushing through brick walls. It's about actively learning from those setbacks, from those temporary defeats. It's about a continuous cycle. You test your plan, take action, you experience the results, which might look like failure, and then you use that precise information to adjust and refine your plan for the next attempt. Hill really hammers home that true success isn't built by some magical stroke of getting it perfectly right on the very first try. That almost never happens. Success is built by iteratively refining your plans over time based on real-world feedback. So it's not just about picking yourself up after a fall, which is important. It's about picking up the pieces, analyzing them like a detective, what went wrong here, why, and then putting them together differently, more effectively the next time around. It's the intelligent application of persistence, learning, and adapting from every twist and turn on the path.
Precisely. You can absolutely view this as a continuous feedback loop. It's a dynamic process of refinement, not a static one-and-done plan. You can almost compare it directly to the scientific method, actually. You form a hypothesis, that's your initial plan, your best guess. You then conduct an experiment. You take action based on that plan. You observe the outcome. Did it work as expected? What happened? Then you analyze the results. Why did it succeed? Or maybe more importantly, why did it fail or fall short? What were the contributing factors? And finally, based on that analysis, you form a new hypothesis. You adjust the plan, incorporating those crucial learnings. This iterative process isn't just like a nice suggestion from Hill. He argues is what fundamentally differentiates those who achieve significant, lasting success from those who merely wish for it. Which raises another important question for self-reflection. In our own lives, when we face setbacks, are we truly learning from those experiences? Are we dissecting what went wrong and genuinely adapting our approach? Or are we just, maybe subconsciously, repeating the same mistakes with slightly different window dressing? This fourth step is about consciously embedding that critical learning into our approach, ensuring that every attempt, whether it feels successful or not at the time, contributes valuable data towards the ultimate achievement of the goal. For Sarah, our fashion entrepreneur, this means constantly reviewing her sales data. Which designs are selling, which aren't. Why? It means actively gathering customer feedback on her designs, on the website experience, on shipping, tracking her marketing campaign performance, which adds work, which don't, and then using all of that data to inform the next iteration of her brand strategy, her product development, her marketing messages. It's about evolving your strategy intelligently as you gather more and more information from the real world, turning every single experience into a step forward, even the tough ones.
So with these 4 incredibly practical, logical steps laid out, form a plan, even week, build a mastermind, persist, reframe failure, repeat and adjust, it becomes strikingly clear why Hill points to a lack of organized planning as one of the primary reasons people never reach the success they desire. Regardless of their talent, their initial desire, or how motivated they felt at the start. It's a recurring theme throughout his work, isn't it? That the chasm between desire and achievement is bridged by concrete, adaptable plans executed with persistence. And he identifies these specific common failure modes that trap so many potentially successful people. Either 1, they don't make a plan at all, they just sort of hope for the best, maybe indulging in wishful thinking, expecting things to just fall into place. Or 2, they make a plan, maybe even a detailed one, but then they never actually act on it. It just sits there, gathering dust. It's kind of productive procrastination where the act of planning feels like doing, but it isn't. Or 3, and this is probably the most common and maybe the most devastating, they give up after the very first significant setback. They interpret that temporary obstacle as a definitive final end to their dream. It's like having a detailed treasure map, knowing exactly where the gold is buried, but never actually leaving your couch to go dig it up, is it? All the potential in the world, a perfectly drawn map, but no journey ever undertaken because of a failure to launch or maybe a failure to persist when the digging gets tough.
Right. And what's truly fascinating here is how Hill implicitly and sometimes explicitly urges you to treat your dreams like a business. And if you really think about that analogy, it makes perfect sense. A successful business doesn't just hope for profit or hope for market share. That's not a strategy. No, it strategizes meticulously. It allocates resources deliberately, time, money, people. It monitors performance metrics rigorously, sales, costs, customer satisfaction. And it pivots decisively when market conditions change or when a product isn't performing as expected or when a competitor makes a move. It's this continuous disciplined cycle. Plan, execute, monitor, adjust. Plan, execute, monitor, adjust. Over and over. Applying that same level of rigor and discipline to your personal goals, whether it's building a new skill set, starting a nonprofit, mastering a craft, or achieving financial independence, it's an absolute game changer. It shifts your ambition from being just a passive wish, something you desire but feel maybe little control over, to becoming an active endeavor, a complex project that you're consciously managing and steering towards a defined outcome. This disciplined approach, it recognizes that success isn't usually something that's just randomly granted to you. It's something that is engineered through deliberate effort and intelligent adaptation. The fear of failure, the powerful allure of instant gratification, or just the sheer comfort of procrastination. These are significant psychological barriers for all of us. In Hill's framework, these 4 steps, they directly confront those barriers by emphasizing systematic action, continuous analysis based on results, and unwavering resilience in the face of difficulty. It essentially provides a robust counter-framework to our natural human tendencies towards avoidance, and frankly, giving up too soon when things get hard.
And to really drive this point home, Hill, throughout Think and Grow Rich, often brings up these compelling stories of individuals who perfectly embodied these principles. And one of the most powerful examples, though often misunderstood, is the story of Thomas Edison. This is one of those surprising facts that truly hammers home Hill's point about persistence combined with organized planning. We all know the basics, right? Edison made thousands of attempts to invent the practical, long-lasting, incandescent light bulb. The popular narrative often focuses just on his sheer brute persistence that he just kept trying and trying, stubbornly, thousands and thousands of times, like he was just banging his head against the wall. But Hill recontextualizes this in such an important way. Edison famously made, 10,000 failed attempts before succeeding with the light bulb? Now, that wasn't just mindless brute force persistence, was it? That wasn't just stubbornness. That was a masterclass in organized planning enacted through relentless trial, error, and refinement. Each failure was explicitly treated as a step, as an experiment, as a valuable data point that directly informed the next iteration of his plan. He didn't give up on the goal, the definite desire for a working light bulb. He just continually revised the plan for how to achieve it based on what he learned from each attempt.
Edison's journey is arguably the perfect embodiment, really, of all 4 steps of organized planning that we've just discussed, all rolled into one monumental, world-changing endeavor. Let's break it down. First, he had an incredibly clear, definite goal: to create a practical, commercially viable, long-lasting electric light source. A huge undertaking, especially since many others had tried and failed before him. That was his definite desire. Second, he implicitly and often explicitly had a mastermind group working with him in his laboratory at Menlo Park. A team of brilliant assistants and collaborators, each bringing specialized knowledge in chemistry, physics, material science, engineering, all contributing to the collective effort. They weren't just following orders. They were active participants in the problem-solving process. Third, he demonstrated unparalleled persistence. Viewing each failed filament material, each unsuccessful bulb design, every single one of those reported 10,000 attempts, not as a personal failure, but as an eliminated option, as a crucial piece of information that actually brought him one step closer to the solution. Remember his famous quote, "I have not failed 10,000 times. I have successfully found 10,000 ways that will not work." That's the mindset of organized planning and persistence right there. And crucially, fourth, he engaged in constant repetition and adjustment. Each failed experiment provided specific data: if this material burns out too quickly, this vacuum isn't strong enough, this connection overheats, that led directly to the next modified plan, the next experiment, often incorporating insights from his team. Hill uses this powerful example to underscore his equation, really: a clear goal, definite desire, plus an action plan, organized planning, plus relentless persistence. Learning from failure, guaranteed success eventually. Edison's genius wasn't just in his initial idea for a light bulb, though that was brilliant. It was equally, maybe even more so, in his systematic, almost scientific approach to bringing that idea into physical reality against enormous odds. He treated each failure as a valuable piece of information within a larger, evolving, organized plan. It really encourages us, the listener, doesn't it, to reframe our own setbacks, not as personal failings, but as data points in our own grand experiment towards achieving our own definite purpose. Just like Shara, in our example, would eventually discover the perfect fabric blend and the right supply chain after several initial, maybe frustrating, missteps. Hashtag tech. Key takeaways from Chapter 6.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here on organized planning. What does this all mean for you, our listener, as you look at your own big dreams and aspirations, maybe the ones that have fizzled out before? Let's try to distill the absolute essentials from this deep dive into Chapter 6 of Think and Grow Rich. First, and maybe most importantly, dreams only become reality when they are backed by a definite, ideally written plan of action. period. They don't magically appear or materialize through sheer willpower or wishing alone. You have to commit them to paper, however imperfectly at first, and treat them as a concrete project you're managing. Second, and this is such a critical mindset shift that Hill hammers home again and again, failure doesn't mean you stop. It simply means you need to revise your plan. It's feedback, it's information, it's a data point telling you what not to do next time. It is absolutely not a dead end unless you decide it is.
Right. And to reinforce those vital points, remember the profound power of the mastermind group. A strong team, a curated group of diverse minds offering different perspectives and knowledge multiplies your chances of success exponentially. Don't try to go it alone. You don't have to figure it all out by yourself. In fact, trying to do so is often a recipe for stagnation or burnout. And perhaps the most crucial distinction that Hill draws, and one we often overlook, maybe in our pursuit of perfection, is that planning without action is just procrastination in disguise. It's so easy to get caught up in the planning phase, refining endlessly, making it look perfect on paper. But without execution, without taking those steps, it remains purely theoretical. A beautiful idea trapped on paper, going nowhere. Finally, the overarching mindset shift you should really aim to adopt from this chapter. Treat your goal like a serious, strategic project, not like a fleeting wish or some vague aspiration you hope might happen someday. These takeaways, they're not just abstract ideas, they're actionable principles. And when you consistently apply them with discipline, and crucially, with an open mind to adjustment based on real results, they can fundamentally shift your trajectory and bring your deepest desires into the realm of concrete achievement.
So let me ask you directly. Are you sitting on a dream right now without a clear plan? Maybe waiting for that perfect moment or that perfect plan to somehow magically materialize before you start? Don't let the pursuit of perfection lead to paralysis. That's the trap. Today, right now, after listening to this, could be the day you decide to actually map it out. Think about Sarah's journey again. She didn't wait for the absolute perfect sustainable fabric supplier to appear out of thin air. She started with a plan, she encountered problems, she adapted, and eventually she found solutions. Start small if you need to. Write it down, even if it's just the first weakest version of your plan. Get something on paper, and then, crucially, begin taking real, tangible action based on that plan. What's one definite goal you have right now that you are now ready, truly ready, to create a tangible, adaptable plan for? Think about it for a moment, and then please get it down on paper, start the process.
And, even with the best plan in place, let's say you've got a meticulously detailed roadmap, it's been refined through setbacks, it's supported by a brilliant mastermind team. Even then, there's a subsequent, equally critical challenge that often surfaces for many people as they move forward. How do you actually make other people believe in your idea, especially if it's bold or unconventional? How do you inspire confidence? How do you become a leader that others trust and are willing to follow, willing to invest in, willing to join? Particularly when your vision is maybe groundbreaking or challenges the status quo. We zoom out for a moment and connect the dots. Effective planning is absolutely inextricably linked to decisive action, yes, but also to the ability to lead and rally others to your cause. That's often the next crucial step. And that leads us perfectly into the focus of our next deep dive. Chapter 7, which is titled, Decision, the Mastery of Procrastination. There you'll learn how highly successful individuals, indeed how billionaires, according to Hill, train themselves to make fast, firm, and impactful decisions that change their life and often the world around them.
It's all about transforming those well-laid plans you've now hopefully started creating into undeniable, unstoppable momentum.
If this audiobook inspired you, imagine what the next one will do. Subscribe now and turn your time into transformation, one audiobook at a time. Hit the bell so you never miss the words that could change your world.